Hello everyone, welcome to IELTS Speed Up course offered by Thompson School. In today's lesson, we will focus on the next question types that you may have in IELTS Writing Task 1. So you should understand that majority Task 1 questions in IELTS exam are either a graph with trends or a graph with comparatives. So in other words, you will be given dynamic or static graphs. So what does that mean? Dynamic means that all the data, numbers, information will change or change it throughout a period. So if you remember, from 2000 to 2010 you have starting and ending points, and everything changes between these points. And whenever you're given comparatives, all the data has been collected at certain time, so in the past, it can be even present time or prediction. And you should understand that there are two other possible question types. First is process and next is map. So describe a process. So as an example, we can consider how to produce chocolate. So you will be given chocolate production process in a picture, and you should write a report on this graph, on this picture. And of course, describing two maps. So usually you will be given two maps, often of a city in two time periods. So 1995, 2005, and of course you should focus on the changes. But we'll talk about maps later. Now let's focus on the process writing. First of all, you should remember that you should have three main components in your report. This is an introduction, an overview, and detail paragraphs. And of course, we'll start from introduction writing techniques, and we have three simple steps here. So you should remember that writing introduction is all about rewriting the title of the graph in your own words. And of course, there are several different ways to do it. Let's consider this question here. The pictures show how tea is produced. This is the title of the graph, and as an additional information you are also given, they also illustrate the process of making a cup of tea. So what should we start from? Of course, we will simply paraphrase the first half of this title. So instead of the pictures, you can use the diagrams, or again the pictures, and then instead of show, you can use illustrate, highlight, depict. Then you can say the steps involved in plus verb ing and topic word. So this is an example here. The steps involved in making tea. Topic word is usually a noun that tells what is the whole process about. And of course, then you can say the process by which, topic word to be and verb ed, the process by which tea is produced. You can also say the process of tea, topic word plus noun, so the process of tea production. So it's up to you which structure you will choose for your introduction. So consider these reworded introductions. The pictures illustrate the steps involved in making tea, or the diagrams highlight the process by which tea is produced. The diagrams illustrate the process of tea production. Now let's consider this exercise here, and we should write an introductory sentence for these task 1 questions. And you're given a title here. The diagram shows how to produce potato chips. So you can say the pictures illustrate how potato chips are produced. So this is very simple way of paraphrasing. So next, the pictures show how people get a driving license. You can say the diagrams highlight, okay, the process by which people get a driving license. So as you can see, this is not that difficult, but remember, you should practice in order to excel at writing introductions. Now, if the step-by-step approach to writing an introduction is clear to you, we'll move to the next component of your report, which is an overview. And of course, here we will consider 4-step overview writing techniques. You can write a mini overview sentence to give a short summary of the process. Okay, this can mean describing the number of stages and listing the first and last stage, different sections of the process as well. So how should we start? Overall or in general? This is how you start your overview. And remember that these words are followed by comma. Then it can be thin that or it is clear that. And the first thing to include in your overview is the number of steps in the process. There are the number of steps in the process. Of course, you should count, but most of the time each step is numbered, okay? There are 18 steps in the process, for example. And then next information that you should include as well is first and last step. From, okay, this is the formula from, okay, first step, so verb ing form, and to the last stage, and verb ing as well. From planting the tea seeds in the ground, this is the first step, to drinking a nice cup of tea. Okay, this is the last stage. Consider this example overview here. Overall, it can be seen that there are 18 steps in the process, from planting the tea seeds in the ground to drinking a nice cup of tea. As you can see, writing an overview, okay, for the process is not so difficult, but you should practice in order to get better. Okay, let's consider this exercise here. You should write a mini overview sentence for the following task 1 question, and here you have the title. The pictures below show how tomato ketchup is made. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features. So, okay, first step here is pick tomatoes and put in basket. Then sort good and bad tomatoes, sand them, remove, okay? So each step is given to you. Let's write an overview together, but before I write it, I do recommend you to pause the video and try it on your own, okay? Oops. Okay, in general, what stands out from the graph is that Okay, as you can see, we have 15 steps here. Okay, there are 15 steps in the process from, okay, the first step is pick tomatoes and put in basket. From collecting tomatoes and putting them into basket to, okay, with hamburger and fries, to enjoying it with hamburger and fries. As you can see, this is not difficult, guys. And remember, you should, okay, focus on writing introduction, overview of the process separately, okay? But before, let's include an introduction as well in order to refresh our knowledge, okay? The diagram depicts, okay, the process by which tomato ketchup is produced or made. Okay, this is sample introduction and overview, guys. So I do recommend you to practice more, and of course we will send you sample tasks, sample answers as well, so you'll be able to compare your answers and work on your weak points. I hope the step-by-step guide to writing an introduction and an overview was clear to you guys. And now we'll move to the next component of your report, which is main body. Okay, you should understand that one of the main tenses used in your main body is present simple passive. And formula is very simple: object plus to be plus past participle. The tea leaves, okay, this is your object, are put into boxes, to be and past participle. Then the boxes are delivered to supermarkets. Okay, boxes are delivered to supermarkets. Okay, as you can see, this is very simple. And of course, you should be careful. Okay, when you're using active and passive verbs, you should know clear difference. Okay, when you write about processes, you should use active verbs for natural processes. The sun shines, the plants grow. You cannot control it. This is the main reason why we use active verbs. And of course, you will use passive verbs for processes where who does the action is not important, or the stage of producing something. The tea leaves are picked. Okay, passive verb is used, and the tea is dried and then packed into boxes. Okay, now we'll talk about linking stages together. Okay, you should understand, when you talk about certain step and moving to the next one, you will use the word next a lot. And here you have very good words and phrases that you can use to make your report more colorful and interesting. Instead of saying next all the time, you can use then, after that, at this point, the next step is that, following this, the following step is that, and then, after which, or subsequently. Okay, make sure that you're using variety of the language because you will be also evaluated on your lexical resource. And of course, instead of the first stage is, you can use first of all. The first step is that, to begin with, initially. And the last stage is can be replaced by finally. The last step is that. And of course, another way of linking two stages can be present perfect. So you can use present perfect to join two stages into one sentence. Okay, you can use once, when, and after, and of course the present perfect to join two stages together. Consider this example here. The tea is packed into boxes and then the boxes are loaded onto a lorry. Once the tea has been packed into boxes, the boxes are then loaded onto a lorry. Okay, here you have an exercise where you should rewrite these sentences using the words in brackets. Okay, the tea leaves are picked and then they are put in the sun to dry. You should use once and present perfect, of course, to rewrite this sentence. Okay, let's do it together. Once the tea leaves have been picked, they are then put in the sun to be dried. Okay, and here you have more exercises and I do recommend you to do them on your own, so you can pause the video here and try to do them on your own. Okay, let's start. The tea leaves are picked from the tea plants and packed into boxes. You should use after here. After the tea leaves have been picked from the tea plants they are then packed into boxes. After the tea leaves have been picked from the plants, they are then packed into the boxes. Next, the boxes are loaded onto a lorry and then they are taken to supermarkets. Okay, you should use when here. When the boxes have been loaded onto a lorry, they are then taken to supermarkets. Okay, very simple. And of course you put the tea back in the cup and then you can pour hot water into it. You should use once the tea bag has been put in the cup, you can then pour hot water into it. So as you can see, this is very simple. But again, I do recommend you to practice more. And now you can see that you can link the states with after plus ing. Okay, the two states can be also linked with after plus ing form of the verb. Okay, consider this example here. The boxes of tea are taken to supermarkets and then they are sold to customers. after being taken to supermarkets, the boxes of tea are then sold to customers. Okay, here you have an exercise. You should rewrite these sentences using after plus ing. Okay, the tea leaves are picked and then they are put in the sun to dry. Okay, after being picked, the tea leaves are then put in the sun to be dried. Okay, let's use passive voice here. After being picked, the tea leaves are then put in the sun to be dried. Okay, next, the tea leaves are picked from the tea plants and packed into boxes. Okay, after being picked from the tea plants, the tea leaves, okay, are then packed into boxes. So very simple, as you can see, and the boxes are loaded onto a lorry and then they are taken to supermarkets. After being loaded onto a lorry, the boxes are then taken to supermarkets. Okay, so I hope this was clear to you guys, and now we'll talk about giving extra information about a stage. So, to extend and improve your answer, to make it more detailed, you can describe what happens in a stage and then add some extra details or explain why it happens. Okay, you can use so that. The tea leaves are put on the ground in the sun so that they can be dried. Or you can use where. The boxes of tea are delivered, where they are put on the shelves to be sold. You can also use which. The sun shines, which helps the plants to grow. Salt and sugar are added to the tomatoes, which gives them extra flavor. Okay? Of course, you can use in order. The sugar cane is taken to a factory. Okay, we don't need comma here, in order to be made into sugar for cooking. And here you have an exercise. You should join each pair of sentences using the words in brackets. Okay, let's start from the first one. The fruit is sent to a factory. It is put into cans there. Okay, the fruit is sent to a factory where it is put into cans. Okay, very simple. The biscuits are put in the oven. They are cooked. Okay, now the biscuits, okay, the biscuits are put in the oven in order to be cooked. Okay, the farmer waters the plants. This makes them grow more quickly. The farmer waters the plants, which makes them grow more quickly. Okay, and of course we have that here. The mushrooms, okay, the mushrooms are stored in a dark room. This helps them to stay fresh. Okay, the mushrooms are stored in a dark room so that they stay fresh. The mushrooms are stored in a dark room so that they stay fresh. Okay, I believe this was clear to you guys, and of course I encourage you to practice more. Try to do this exercise on your own. And now let's consider this example model answer. So this is the title. The pictures below show how tea is produced. They also illustrate the process of making a cup of tea. And this is your task. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. So as you can see, we have 18 steps overall. Okay, now if you remember, I told you before that you should have introduction, overview, and detailed paragraphs in your report. So we'll start from introduction. These pictures illustrate how tea is produced and how a cup of tea is made. This is paraphrased title. As you can see, we merged two sentences into one here. These pictures illustrate how tea is produced. This is your first sentence in the title, and how a cup of tea is made. This is the second one. And now overview. If you remember, I told you that you should include number of steps in the process, then state the first and last stage of the process. There are 18 stages in the diagram, from sowing the tea seeds in India and China to enjoying a cup of tea at home. This is a little bit tricky part here, because as you can see, the first step in the diagram is actually information about place where tea grows. Tea grows in India and China. And the second one is sowing tea seeds. Okay, as you can see here in overview, from sowing the tea seeds in India and China, these steps has been merged, joined together, because indeed, actually in fact, what farmers do first is sowing tea seeds. Okay, again, I highly encourage you to analyze the graph before you start writing, and of course do some logical thinking. From sowing the tea seeds in India and China to enjoying a cup of tea at home. Okay, this is the last stage here. Now we'll start detailed paragraphs. Okay, the first step is that the tea seeds are sown and then the sun shines, which causes the seeds to grow into plants. So, okay, the tea seeds are sown and then the sun shines, which causes the seeds to grow into plants. As you can see, we are using passive voice here, and of course which to join two stages. Okay, next, once the plants have grown sufficiently, the tea leaves are then picked by the farmer and put into baskets. Okay, picking and putting in basket, and this is extra information here. Once the plants have grown sufficiently. Okay, after the picking stage, the tea leaves are spread out in the sun to be dried. So again, we went through this structure before. We are using after. Okay, after the picking stage, the tea leaves are spread out in the sun to be dried. Okay, this is extra information to make your report more colorful. And of course, to show the examiner that you understand the process, okay, the tea leaves are packed into boxes and then they are loaded onto lorries, which takes the boxes of tea to supermarkets. So again, as you can see, we are joining several stages here using, of course, different structures that we went through. The tea leaves are packed into boxes and then they are loaded onto lorries, which takes the boxes of tea to supermarkets. Now, next paragraph. And of course, we'll talk about logical division of your detailed paragraphs later. In order to make a cup of tea, first of all, you buy a box of tea and take it home. Okay, as you can see here. Next, you will fill the kettle with water and put it on the stove to boil. Okay, it's here. Meanwhile, you put a tea bag in a cup, and once the kettle has boiled, the water is poured into the cup. Having been left in the cup for 2 minutes, the tea bag is then removed and the tea is now ready to drink. At this point, milk and sugar can be added. The final step is that you drink a nice cup of hot tea. Okay, as you can see, every stage, every step has been included here, and now I believe you understood the logical division. Here, okay, the first paragraph is dedicated to the process of tea production, and the second paragraph is devoted to, okay, process of making a cup of tea. This is logical division here. Okay, and of course I do recommend you to practice, and you can take this example model answer and of course read it through, analyze it, and of course go through the different structures and try to use variety of structures. Remember that variety of the language is very important in writing.